April 25th, 2022. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 256 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Mike, we were just talking before the show started here. We went to the taco shop that's kind of closest to Harrah's, Southern California. We've never been before because it's inside kind of a general store.
Yeah, like a little market.
And so when we leave the casino, it's usually closed. And when we're going to the casino, we don't stop to get food. So
right.
We left early enough last night when we got our free play when we said, hey, let's stop there. And, well, now at least we can say we've done it. That's about all I can say.
Right. The food was not as good as we expected.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible.
No, it wasn't awful. No,
but it was just okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there are better places on our way home.
Yeah.
And we probably won't stop there again.
Okay.
But, it had a little reaction to me about 2 a.m.
It is.
Yeah.
We had different things. You had some carne asada, which I didn't. I just had some roll tacos.
You didn't have any meat, really.
Yeah, so that's what did it, you think?
Yeah, I think so, because, I got up at 2 a.m., stomach cramping, and then, you know how usually it passes through, let's say.
All right,
You get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, the whole bathroom smelled like carne asada.
All right, welcome to the show, folks.
It was not too fun, but was able to go right back to sleep.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
That's
growing up in San Diego.
Yes. You wake up, you take care of it, you go back to sleep.
Yeah.
No big whoop.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like we said on the last episode, we had a lot of phone calls that we were going to hold off on just because I went on and on and on about my Biloxi trip. So this is going to be a catch-up on voicemails. Why don't we get to it right after this? Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, first up is Nick.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Nick in Kalamazoo. Just giving you a quick trip report from our junket to Biloxi. We had an invitation from MGM to fly from Detroit to Biloxi for 4 days, and we thought we'd take the chance. We've never been. And we had a pretty good time. Not a whole lot on the gambling front to talk about. Craps was very up and down, didn't really make a whole lot of money there. We played a whole lot of Pai Gow, the drinking game, sat for a while. The wife and I both got lucky and hit a straight flush. That pays all right, not going to complain, made up for some of our losses. Also hit a straight flush on like my second hand in 3-card over at the Palace, which was one of our favorite places to go. Non-smoking casino. Yeah. They have a really good buffet that you can get half off if you earn 10 or 20 points, depending on whatever the day is. Craps was $10. They had a roll to win table. Really nice place. We really enjoyed it. We stayed at the Beau because of MGM. And the only crap story I wanted to share with you is one that I thought was really strange. It was Wednesday night. The 2 standard tables were 15, but the crapless table was 25, and I couldn't figure out why until I walked over and heard all the hooped and hollering going on. This one gentleman had all the numbers placed for $1,000 each. So he had 2 purple chips on the 2, 3, all the way through 12. He was playing $100 pass line with 20 times odds, so $2,000. I was standing just watching in disbelief as he was hitting numbers and getting paid in $1,000 chips or whatever, and occasionally he would press a number. 12 happened to be their point, and it hit, and I believe it pays 6-1. So if he had $2,000, he got paid $12,000. They were very drunk, but it appeared that they were making a lot of money and just having a blast. I've never seen so much fun and so much money being spread around a crapless table. Played in my first poker tournament. They have a turbo tournament at the Beau every day, I think at 12:15. There were 53 people. I ended up in 15th or 16th, depending on how you count it. I was down to just a couple blinds. I went all in with pocket rockets, pair of aces. You can't lose, right? The guy beside me was all in with ace-9, and across the table, the guy who had some of the most chips called with a pair of 7s. Wouldn't you know it, on the flop, a 7 comes up, busts our aces, and we go out. But it was my first tournament. I had a good time. The other quick thing to mention about Biloxi is it's kind of nice. You don't need a car. They have that casino hopper there. It looks like an old trolley. It's $1.50 a ride to go to any casino from any casino. It's $6, I think, for a day pass. You can hop on and off as much as you want. And I believe a 3-day pass is $14. You do have to wear a mask on it because it's public transportation, but we were able to get everywhere we wanted to go. We went over to Hard Rock. We went to IP, Palace, as I mentioned. We didn't make it to Boomtown, but we're hoping to go next time. Really nice place. Definitely would like to go to Biloxi again. Looks like we were there just a couple weeks before you guys were heading down that way. So hope you have lots of fun, lots of luck, and pick up some of the money that we left at the casinos. As always, thank you for your content. Always love listening to you guys and excited to see the new podcast roll in. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Nick. I know that some people in our group use that casino hopper, right?
Right.
It's, a
That's a pretty
way to
good
get
deal.
around. Yeah, not bad at all.
Especially with gas now. $1.50 might be a bargain, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, he's talking about, aces cracked, and he jokingly said, "Oh, you can't lose," right?
Right.
You and I were just talking last night about how we kind of prefer limit poker,
Right.
for that reason. Is
Exactly.
that, when your aces are cracked, at least you're not stacked.
Yeah,
right.
right.
You probably are going to be going all in with aces in a lot of circumstances.
Right.
And if somebody does go in with pocket sevens and happens to catch a 7, well, at least in limit poker, it's like, oh, shoot, I should have won that hand.
Right.
Oh, well, next hand. Whereas with, no limit or a tournament, could be the end of your tournament life, or you could lose all your chips, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
And I know it's a bias in our minds because we remember when our aces were cracked.
Sure.
But it sure seems like it happens a lot. I mean, every time. I'd almost rather have a pair of jacks or something, right? Just because you see it all the time and you think, how could they got aces? Yeah.
Well, aces, even though you do remember that, aces still is the best starting hand.
Right.
If you could get aces every time.
Yeah, it's a good
that'd
place
be the
to
good
start.
throw. Yeah.
The one thing that I took from Nick's call was they went to the buffet.
Yeah, at Palace.
So they have a buffet.
Yes, and we
Nice.
didn't go to the buffet when we were at Palace, but yeah,
Was it one of
these-
those serve yourselves or do they serve you?
No, I assume it's serve yourself. Yeah, a lot of
Okay.
that is coming back. And, certainly when I was in Biloxi, Mike, I mean, very few people were wearing masks.
Right.
I know the whole, it's in the news right now, mask mandates going
Right,
away. And
right.
some people are happy, some people. But no, when we were there, very few people were wearing masks.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
yeah.
Well, it's nice to see a buffet back. Harrah's Rincon here took out their buffet.
Yeah, it's not coming
And
back
it's
at
not,
all.
well, no, it's a new restaurant, so they're not going to
That's
ever
right.
have
It's going to be a new Hell's Kitchen, right?
Yeah, they're never going to have a buffet,
No.
which sucks.
Yeah.
Especially for, the regulars, I'll say.
Yeah, right.
Not just someone visiting, but the regulars who go all the time. They like to go to the buffet, get a wide variety. Hell's Kitchen's going to be a lot slower.
Yeah.
You're going to have a menu that you choose from. You can't try everything on the menu,
Well, one of the benefits of being 7 stars when they had the buffet is you got two free buffets every day if you were 7 stars, right?
Right. Most people just go in there and eat for free every day.
And I certainly took advantage of that. You did too.
Right.
They don't have that anymore.
I doubt if they're going to have 2 free meals at Hell's Kitchen every day.
No, they're not.
And it's funny they took that out too because, and I assume they thought, number one, they'll make more money with Hell's Kitchen maybe, but they also thought buffets may never come back.
Right.
So
I'm sure that's what the initial catalyst was.
We got to do something with this area, right?
Right.
But now I hear Soup Plantation is coming back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to La Mesa. But under a different, it's not going to be called Soup Plantation. It's something else, but they're using all the menu from Soup Plantation.
Okay. I see.
So like somebody
Like
bought
a different company, but the concept is coming
back. But the concept is exactly the same.
Okay,
Yeah. Even the recipes they said were going to be the same. So here we go back to, serve yourself at, salad bar.
Yeah, and for those who don't know what Soup Plantation is, it's basically a salad buffet. You start by making your salad.
They have soup,
They have some
salads.
other options once you've gone through the line, right?
Yeah.
Soups and little focaccia rolls and all sorts
stuff
of things.
like
Clam
lots of
chowder,
bread and
desserts,
soups and
that kind of
stuff.
thing. Anyway, he was talking about big money on a crapless craps table, and again, even though we prefer not to play crapless craps, we prefer regular craps. If you're on that big hot roll and you've got all the numbers, including 2, 3, 11, and 12,
those you're praying for those craps. To
I know.
come up.
We were talking last night how those are inconsequential rolls when we're there. 2, 3, 11, 12 when we're
we
waiting
don't
on
lose
the
or
point,
win on
right?
them. It's just a wasted roll. We call
at
it.
least with those, you're bringing in some extra money.
Some
so
big
it'd be
money
fun.
on those 12s. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next call.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Dr. Mike. Hope Dr. Mike is feeling better. Hey, I just had a quick question. I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier, and the conversation with the host came up. This is Adam from Seattle, by the way. So I go to Vegas typically once per year, and during the pandemic, obviously, I didn't go much. And during the pandemic, I was contacted for the first time by a host, which I utilized last year, took some buddies of mine to Vegas. After I got back, I kind of realized talking to some folks that I probably should have tipped him, which I didn't do. So I just had a question about, do you tip, obviously, first and foremost, but what is an appropriate amount to tip to a host? How do you tip a host? What do you give them? I've heard that they can't take cash as a tip. And just to give you some backstory, I usually get anywhere between $500 to $800 in free play, 3 rooms, VIP check-in experience with pretty much any MGM property. So I figured I'm getting at least a couple $1,000 in comps for a trip. I have a trip upcoming here in May, my 40th birthday. So I'm just kind of curious, what's your thoughts on tipping a host who I have never met? I've only talked to him over email. So anyway, love your show, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, typically you will not tip a host money, but when you see them, maybe you give them a nice bottle of wine or liquor or candy, something like that. I guess a gift card, maybe. But, I don't know. Adam, in your case, when you've not even ever met your host, I wouldn't worry too much about tipping them.
No, if you've never met them, me personally, I wouldn't tip them. Not out of disrespect or anything.
No, right. It's just
we don't have a personal relationship.
Right,
and they get paid by the casino.
And they're doing their job.
That's their job.
If it's the kind of thing where they met you come to Vegas and they go out of their way to come say hello or, something like that.
Right.
Well, then maybe you think about tipping them. And again, not money, but some gift of some kind, thing like that. So
yeah, that's a weird area because it's not like a dealer that's right in front of you.
No.
And, you feel like is working with you almost in a sense, hoping you win and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying your host doesn't hope you win. It's just that, your interaction with them is so limited.
And it's going to depend on what they've done for you too. A lot of times all a host is doing is something you could do on your own.
Right.
You're just, they're doing it for you.
It's just easier. It's quicker for you.
That's another thing too, is have they kind of gone above and beyond. And again, it's at your discretion. But honestly, if you've never met them, I wouldn't even worry about the tipping. Now, some hosts might be listening and thinking, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
But no, it's more of kind of a personal thing, interpersonal thing,
And I think the best point is what you said. I mean, most of the stuff they're giving you is stuff you would get by just calling and saying, what do I get?
It's just saving you the time of having to go through all your offers and deciding on what the best thing is.
And that's why I think just a bottle of something is a good thing.
That's good enough. Yeah.
Go meet them, say, here, I really appreciate you working for me, and here's a bottle of whiskey or wine or whatever.
Yeah. All right, next call.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Nick from Virginia. I was calling in with a quick trip report from Las Vegas. I went out there for the first weekend March Madness, and I stayed at both the Venetian and the Link, and I will say that Venetian was much better. I do not recommend the Link.
Okay.
We had some Soviet-style housing there. But yeah, I got to go to a lot of casinos I hadn't been to before. Of course, I hit Resorts World, and I was pleasantly surprised to find a $10 craps table in the middle of the day on a Thursday, and it plays 3 times on the 12th, so that was nice. I also got down to Circa, which was amazing, but absolutely packed. There wasn't anywhere to sit, let alone to see the games or anything like that. I was also surprised to find a few $5 tables. Oyo had a $5 craps table, and I played there quite a bit, and as always, Ellis Island had a great $5 game. I also checked out the Silver Sevens Casino for the first time ever, and they had an old school tub craps. $10 and a small little tub. It was a lot of fun to play. I went out there with a friend of mine who had never played craps before, so I didn't get to play as much as I wanted to because he was a little bit worried about playing on $15 tables. So I didn't play as much as I wanted to, but we found tons of $5 tables. They feel a little hard, some $10 tables as well. I got to play the Roll to Win with the full craps table with the electronic terminals. I had a blast. And actually my friend who hadn't played craps ever before really enjoyed that. He liked that a little bit more because it wasn't as nerve-wracking to him. I had a 21 roll streak and then a 13 roll streak. Not too many numbers, but it's pretty fun. Overall, I had a really great time. I definitely recommend checking out Oyo because they have a $5 craps table that was packed, and it's right on the strip next to MGM Grand. But most of the places we found were $15 or $25 tables. Definitely on the strip downtown, you can find a $10 or $15 table most of the time. Played some face-up high-out venues for $15, and that was a lot of fun. Overall, yeah, it was packed, but I think it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't recommend the William Hill sports betting app if you can avoid it. It's not as good as the modern apps that we have here in Virginia. So Hope you guys are having a great day. Love the show. And thanks again for all the work you put in. Bye.
Yeah, that's sort of the irony right now is that it's easier to bet on sports in states other than Nevada. Well, easier for example, you've got to fund the account in person, at least initially, in Nevada, right? Things like that. So sort of ironic. I mean, Vegas still has the appeal because it's Vegas, but
there's more to do. Yeah.
And Oyo that he's talking about, that's the old Hooters Hotel, if people aren't familiar with that. We don't talk about that a lot on the show. I haven't been there since it changed over.
Long time,
But that's what that is, yeah.
I like he said the Link had Soviet-style rooms.
Yes, that's right. You can picture that, can't you? It's
it's funny because this is years ago. Somebody was talking in my office about when you see stuff on the news about Russian housing and they have these big housing complex where it's all concrete.
Yeah.
It just looks like a big stone thing.
Yeah. It's
not decorated or anything. It's just apartments where people live. And I turned to the person, I said, well, we do the same thing here. We just put stucco on the concrete so it looks nice and we landscape the outside, but underneath it's still just a concrete building, right?
Yeah.
They just get rid of the frills. And that's kind of like the Link, right? It's just no frills. It's just the concrete,
Well, especially if you're comparing it to Venetian, right?
Right. That's a perfect analogy. It's a perfect analogy.
All right, we're going to hear from Nick later on in the show with another call. Meanwhile, let's hear from our good friend Taylor.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Sarah from New Mexico. Long time no call in, I guess. Just listened to your last episode. Dr. Mike talking about his wife hitting 2 fanboys on video poker. Yes, 1 card, wrong suit of the same color. It looks good for a split second, followed by just deep disappointment. That's why it's called Anyway, did something I've never done before on my last trip to Vegas over March Madness. I hit 2 royals on one trip. We had been playing multi-line games almost exclusively at Green Valley Ranch, and I thought I was due for a royal within a trip or two, and I hit one on a single line game at Circa on my first night. And I told Tara, I didn't think that one counted towards my due count because it was a Circa and it was on a single line. And a couple of days later, I hit another one on a single line at Green Valley Ranch. Now, when I tell her that I think I can still hit one on my next trip on our go-to multi-line machine at GVR, she just sighs and gets so mad that I sound so entitled to my royals. So what do you think, Dr. Mike? If you haven't hit a hard 8 on a table for like 3-4 hours, and you go to the bathroom and on your way back, you see a bubble craft machine and you throw $20 in there, and it hits a hard 8 right away. You come back to your regular original table, you're still going to feel like you're still due for a hard 8, right? Anyway, Mark, we look forward to hearing about your Biloxi trip. Have fun. Have a safe trip. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
All right, so Mike, what do you think of his analogy there? If you've been playing at a regular craps table,
right,
and then you on your way back from the bathroom, you throw some money into a shoot to win, and it comes up. Does that count towards your?
No, I still want a hard 8 on the real table.
Yeah. See, and okay, I think the analogy works, but I don't really follow Taylor's reasoning on what happened to him.
Yeah.
He was playing a single line at Circa, and he says, "Oh, that doesn't count because I usually play a multi-line."
Yeah, I think
at Green Valley Ranch.
I think it's better to get the single line one. I think that counts.
No, he's just bragging about hitting royals.
Right.
That's all he's doing.
Taylor, I like the way you phrased it, too, when you said, I knew I was due for a royal the next trip or two. I'm hoping to get one in my life. Taylor's like, the next trip I think I'm due.
Yeah, probably next trip. If not that, the following trip. Certainly the next 2 trips. Love the show.
And he got a little zing in there to Travel Fanboy, too.
Yeah, well, that's the Travel Fanboy, right? You're hitting the royal, but instead you make a straight with the wrong suit, right color card.
Yeah, well, and just this week I went out to Rincon just to get my free play. Played my free play on video poker like I always do. And then my very last hand, I texted Mark a picture of the screen. Needed to 10 of clubs and got the 10 of diamonds.
Yeah, so it wasn't the same color. Wasn't technically a fanboy, but yeah,
yeah.
you did send that to me. It was still a straight. I wrote back, hey, winner. Congratulations.
I still got the win.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how close I got. When that came up, I just sat there and thought, God, it's never going to happen, is it?
Relax. Next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is William from Fort Worth calling in. I'm actually leaving Tunica. Had a family reunion here in Mississippi and got to spend a night at Horseshoe and gambled there last night, a little bit this morning, and then also at Gold Strike, which was nice next door. It's an MGM property. But a couple questions. I love casinos. I spend a lot of time gambling in casinos. One thing that confuses me, though, is when I pony up to a bar to play video poker and all the options there are for the poker. I'm not talking about anything that deuces wild or anything wild, but just all the double, triple bonus, quadruple, double down bonus. Could you explain those games a little bit, the differences, or kind of which one to look for? I just want basic where you break even with jacks or better. It just confuses me. Also, what in your omniscience, I know you'll figure this out quickly. What are the odds? It seems like it's so hard to get a flush when you have 4 cards to the flush. What are the odds? I always feel like it should be 1 out of 4, but I know that it's not because you've already taken 4 of the 13 cards. So what are the odds of hitting that flush with that 5th card if you already have 4? I'd appreciate that. One other thing, I played a little craps this morning. It was a $25 table. Nobody was at the table, so I was by myself, and I played the don'ts because I roll a lot of 7s, but not on the come-out roll. And I was killing it, probably for 15 minutes. I had turned 400 into 1,200. It was 0.7 out pretty much over and over. And the one guy stood at the other table and watched for a little bit, and then he jumped on and put money on the pass line. Actually, I didn't realize he had put money down. I was waiting for the dice to come back to me, which they didn't, and so I cashed out. What are your thoughts on that? Do y'all hesitate to jump on a table where there's one person? Especially, I just wouldn't have done it. Maybe I'm too courteous. I know I won't get on a blackjack table if there's only one person playing. And if I had watched somebody on a craps table killing it one way, I wouldn't jump on the other way either. But of course, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just, I don't know. I'd cashed out. I wouldn't have done it. But is there anything wrong with that? But that's it, guys. Like I said, love the show. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, thanks. We like to go to empty tables or almost empty tables.
Right.
If we see just one person playing at a table, yeah, we'll go right up and start playing.
We like the room.
Yeah. I guess the difference, though, in the story you're telling, William, is it sounds like the guy was watching you for a while.
Right.
And soaking in what was happening at the table or whatever you want to call it. And then decided to come in. That's certainly something we would never do. We wouldn't sit and watch somebody play for a while.
Right.
And
that's
then
kind of odd.
Oh, yeah, table's kind of cold now. This is the time to jump in. It's going to turn hot or whatever the rationale is.
Right.
We'll go right up to a table and immediately, buy in once it's the come out roll or something. But yeah, we won't sit back and watch somebody and then decide to come in. That's a little odd, yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story, Mark. Jeremy, one of the dealers at Harrah's Rincon, told me this, that he likes to play by himself on craps because he likes a fast game and he just likes, he looks for that.
Yeah.
And he said sometimes he's in a casino and there's maybe 1 or 2 people on a table. He goes to that table and then immediately starts doing everything that is, quote, taboo at a craps table to try and get them to leave. I thought that was hilarious. He said, yeah, I start saying 7. I buy in the middle of a roll and I do this and I do that. Hopefully they'll leave and then I'm by myself. We're not that cutthroat.
So,
we don't try and get rid of it.
That's
anybody.
a funny story, but we don't condone that behavior by any means. Yeah, I could, knowing Jeremy, I could see him doing that too, based on his personality. That's funny.
But yeah, I like going up to empty tables.
Yeah.
I like going up to 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
And I don't care who they are. I could be one person playing the don't. I don't care. I just like it's not crowded.
Yeah.
Because number one, I like the game to go a little faster. Yeah. Sometimes when it's crowded, it's so slow and you made your bets and you're just sitting there waiting.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, say there's only one person at the table, we'll go to the opposite side of the table.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, again, for a fast game, then, you don't have one dealer catering
all the
to,
work.
Like 3 players, right?
And even if there's more people, we try and even it out. So we go to the side with less people to even it out.
Yeah. William's asking about video poker variants. So you'll see jacks are better is the basic game that everybody talks about. Yeah. When you talk about these bonus poker, double bonus, double bonus, triple double bonus, those things. Those are games with a higher variance that appeal to a player's desire to win a lot on some of the bigger hands.
Right.
And so usually what they are, say 4 aces pays more than a typical jacks or better game, especially if they're 4 aces with a kicker, if they have low kickers
Right.
or low 4 of a kind. So a lot of the payouts are heavy on those harder to hit hands, 4 of a kind, that kind of thing.
Right, but they take away from the lower.
Right. So maybe 2 pair is you only get your money back.
I refuse to play any game where 2 pair gets you your money back.
Oh, I don't like that at all either,
No,
right?
I mean, it's ridiculous. You hit so many 2 pairs.
Yeah.
And you just get your money back?
Yeah.
No.
So, but some people do like the variance and
Right.
hitting those big hands. I'm kind of like you, William. I prefer just the regular jacks are better.
Right.
So when you're at a machine, a lot of them have the option of picking from these different games. Just choose jacks are better, and you'll get that basic game that you want.
Right.
But again, some of those bonus games, you win a little less on the hands that you hit a lot, so that you can win more on the hands that you don't hit quite as much.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. William asks about what are the chances of hitting a flush when you've already got 4 cards to the flush. And the math here is actually pretty easy. So when you have a hand in video poker, you see 5 cards right away.
Right.
So that means there are 47 cards left in the deck that you haven't seen. That's true for any video poker hand. Okay. So let's say you have 4 to a flush. Well, there are 13 cards in each suit. So if you've already used 4 of them, say 4 spades, that means there are 9 spades left. 9 in the suit that you want that are left. So the odds are just 9
out of
47, right? Which works out to about 1 in 5.22.
Right.
So maybe you could think 1 in 5 1/4 or something like that.
Now, we should mention that doesn't mean that you're going to hit 1 out of every 5.
Right.
Okay, Taylor? Because it's 1 out of 5 if you played an infinite number of hands.
Right. That's, it's always
But
a long-term figure.
It's
but
a long-term
that is
thing.
the
And in the
correct
short
math, yeah.
term, I could go and play a session and have 20 times where I was dealt 4 to the flush and then never get the flush.
Yeah, right.
And that could easily happen, Taylor. But
Gee, poor Taylor.
he just assumes he's due to hit it.
Yeah.
And we can never do it. I don't know. It's the leprechaun that's sitting on his shoulder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, look closely next time.
Okay. Well, it says, Tara, send us a picture. Yeah. I'm going to look real closely at that. All right. Next call.
Hi, guys. First things first. Thanks, as always, for the remarkable show as Dr. Mike. I hope you're doing well, and I hope the trip down south was a good one for you, Mark. I have a great customer service story for you that was part of a solid trip report. My wife and I live in Wisconsin, and since the fares to Vegas are like $700 a piece right now, we have no immediate plans to head out there. Sports betting, not an option where we live, so we often go down to Iowa to get our fix. As I may have mentioned before, I'm the craps player of the household, even though we both appreciate your podcasts. My wife kills it with NASCAR. Anyway, we went to Rhythm City in Davenport, and it was pretty awesome. Certainly our favorite casino in the area. Not overly smoky, friendly staff, a couple decent restaurants, and an attached hotel. One of my biggest complaints about a lot of the older casinos is that there's no real place to just hang out. If I want to watch a game, drink a beer, or chill, it's pretty difficult to find a place to do that. Rhythm City, however, was cool. Plenty of places to gamble and plenty of places to relax. There's even an open space stage for bands and other performers. Anyway, I went to the craps table. It was only $10 a throw, which was pretty great. And one of the best things about craps, as you both know, is you can change how you play the game depending on how you feel that day. I started with a pass line bet and won with a yo. I kept the bet there and then lost with an ace deuce. Then I just pulled the bet and bought the 10. I told the dealer I was buying the 10, and then he asked me if I wanted it working. I was contemplating and said, yeah, turn it on. I said that right as the dice came out for the come-out roll. 7. The guy looked up at me and smiled. He just said, I wouldn't have paid it if it hit, so we'll just leave it there. I said, are you kidding? That's amazing. I'd never seen that before where they kind of let a bet slide when it loses. The shooter who gets the dice starts throwing 10s like crazy, so it was fun. Eventually, I found that dealer who had moved to a blackjack table and handed him my original $10 bet. Not a huge tip, but I was pretty happy with what he did. You guys probably get that all the time. I've just not experienced that. Now, I'm not a high roller, but I'm not ashamed of putting out how much money we won because I still think the dollar amounts are fun, even if they're disappointingly small or unbelievably large. I'm not familiar with those, really, but I cashed out with $400, and my wife hit on a weird slot machine for $500. In NASCAR, she had a couple drivers in Martinsville, so she cashed out with another $100. For those in the Midwest, check out Rhythm City. You'll love it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kevin.
Rhythm City, Iowa. Yeah, good to hear a good trip report from there.
Yeah. So I wonder where he lives in Wisconsin, how far a drive that is down to Iowa.
Yeah, that is a good question.
Because I'm going to be there all summer.
Are you now?
Yeah.
Really? In Wisconsin or Iowa?
I'm going to be in Minnesota, but right by La Crosse, Wisconsin. So
Okay.
I can drive down to Iowa anytime.
Check it out. You're going to have to give us the lowdown on all those
Maybe
casinos
I'll meet
in that area.
Kevin down there in Davenport.
I like that story too, because this is a situation, it sounds like, where the dealer's really watching out for him. Because if a 10 had been rolled, the dealer probably would have paid Kevin.
He
right?
would have paid him, yeah. Oh, I'm sure
so,
of it.
Now dealers aren't supposed to have that discretion, and I'm sure the casino wouldn't go for it if they knew it was going on. But that is good customer
the dealer's
service.
thinking, that's perfect customer service.
Well, and plus the dealer said, "Hey, do you want it working?"
Yeah,
he's the one who actually prompted Kevin, "Hey, do you want it working?" It's the come out roll. Do you want it working? Yeah, go ahead. So the dealer probably, felt responsible in a way, for the bet.
And then he just pretended like he didn't hear him.
Yeah, right.
I never got an answer in time.
I wasn't able to get the lammer down there in time.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go. All right, let's hear from Nick again.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Nick from Virginia calling in with another quick trip report. I recently had to drop somebody off and pick them up at the Baltimore airport, and right near the Baltimore airport there is the Maryland Live Casino. So in my never-ending quest for cheaper craps in the area, I decided to swing by there. I went twice. The first time was on a Saturday morning, and I got there around 10 a.m., and as far as craps went, they only had two $50 tables that were about half full, so I didn't play any craps that day. I did play some Pai Gow. They had a $25 Pai Gow table, and on the website they said they had a face up, but it turns out that was only in the high limit room. So I played normal Pai Gow, and I did pretty well. I decided to leave when I lost on a full house. I split, and I decided that was my cue to be done. I went back again on a Friday evening around 8 o'clock. At that time, they had 4 craps tables open, 2 $50 tables and 2 $25 tables. When I was approaching the table, they had placards on both the $25 tables that said that they were going to be changing over to 50 in about 15 minutes. So I got about 5 rolls in, 2 at one table and 3 at the other. I wound up exactly even for the craps, and then I went and played some slots and a little bit of video poker. Overall, the Maryland Live Casino is a pretty nice casino. It's non-smoking and is right near the Baltimore airport. So if you're flying in to Baltimore and you got some extra time in a rental car, then I say go ahead and check it out. Depending on what time you get there, they may have $25 tables or $50 tables, so who knows. Thanks for the show. I really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to future episodes. Bye.
I am surprised that on a Saturday morning, 10 a.m., 2 tables, both 50.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, what's with that area? Because when I was at National Harbor, remember, the tables were all high limit.
Well, and
there were a couple of 25s, but there were like 6 tables and only 225 and everything 50 or 100.
Yeah, and that was pre-COVID. So you can imagine. So certainly, for National Harbor, but for Maryland Live as well. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, just something maybe that area. Maybe they get enough action.
That's what it comes down to, right?
Must be, right?
Yeah. Well, anyway, we've heard good things about Maryland Live, but wow, those are high limits.
Those are high limits. That's getting rid of a lot of players.
Yeah.
Who, even I, thinking $50 table, you have an hour of bad rolls.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
That's a big loss.
Yeah.
You like the idea of being able to bet less at some point. Like, say you were a $50 bettor, but you're playing a $25 table. Well, you bet it's not going good. You drop down to 25.
Yeah,
it's kind of nice, right?
Right. Say, hey, I think I'm going to change to come bets with full odds.
Right.
So you want to be able for that base bet to be relatively low, right?
Right. Yeah. As opposed to having to stay at a 50 the whole time, you can get hammered pretty quick, or you're not making very many bets.
Right.
And
that's the other thing, and you're not as playing the game you want to be able to play. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right, next call.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. Tommy from Dayton, Ohio here. I was in Las Vegas for the UFC fight the first weekend in March and saw a few things that were kind of noteworthy with regards to craps. First, the Tropicana actually offered $10 craps on the Thursday morning / afternoon when I arrived. And I asked them, when is the last time you guys have ever offered $10 craps? Because I have not seen it at any of the major strip properties since I've been going. One of the dealers said it's been forever since he had seen that. So thought that was pretty noteworthy. Another thing that I noticed kind of combined between Las Vegas and then a few weeks later I was in Laughlin is the number of rookie players and dealers in almost every casino that I was in, starting in Las Vegas. Not even just during the day shift. You know, sometimes during the day shift, you'll see an inexperienced crew or an inexperienced person, but I'm talking like Saturday night after the UFC fight, Friday night on a big weekend. You have dealers that were struggling for 1-unit presses and really slowed the game down, and something that I had very rarely seen up until recently. Second, involving rookie players, the following things I saw over the course of Vegas and Laughlin. You have, of course, dice not going to the end of the table, drinks where people are holding their drinks over the table, and the pit boss is repeatedly asking them to put it into the shelf below, hands in, betting while the dice are out. One guy actually threw the dice so wildly they went behind the stick man. And it's just like, I really haven't seen this up until the last month, and I was wondering if this was something that other people had noticed. I know there's always going to be rookie players and people learning the game, but there seems to be a lot of new people that I've seen both working the game and playing the game. But love the show. Keep it up, and talk to you guys later.
Yeah, thanks.
This is going to sound like a cop-out almost, but unintended consequences of COVID. Specifically with the dealers.
Okay. The dealers, yes.
Because
okay.
I think a lot happened when casinos were closed down or they were offering limited amount of games and stuff. Things happened. A lot of dealers moved, quit. So a lot of casinos had to get an influx of new people.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I think that's why there's a lot of new people. Even out here, they're having a hard time keeping dealers too, for whatever reason. So
I could see that. Yeah.
The players, that's... I don't know.
We haven't been to Vegas for so long. I should say the Vegas Strip. I mean, the last 2 times I went, it was just downtown. You haven't been in so long, so we don't have a sense of that. Now, if it was a big fight weekend, I could understand that, right? You've got people coming into town who aren't necessarily gamblers, but at the same time, the limits are so high, you wouldn't think you'd have a lot of novice people at the table.
You would think they'd keep everyone away.
Yeah, so I don't know. Let us know if anybody else is seeing that, kind of more inexperienced players. But you might be right about the dealers. It's just, it's harder to keep. And, even Tim Lawson, he said when he was at Tropicana, they had a full crew during the day, but at night, only half the table was open because they didn't have enough dealers. Right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a real crunch in employment in general in the United States.
Yeah.
And when it's going to return to normal, I don't know. We went to places ourselves that weren't open because they didn't have enough staff to keep, the Carl's Jr. open past like 9 o'clock or something. It's weird.
Yeah, you could be right. All right, next call.
Hello, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Charles from Mississippi. It was so good to get caught with Mark and play craps with the group at the Beau Rivage. I hate to let you know, Mark, but after y'all left the table to go eat, the dice turned pretty hot, and I wound up winning about $300 at the table.
Well, good.
An interesting fact about the Beau Rivage is that Steve Wynn was building both at the same time, and he initially was going to name the Bellagio the Beau Rivage, as it means beautiful shore in French. But he later decided to use the Bellagio name and to use the Beau Rivage name in Biloxi. Also, I guess as the cost control method, he pretty much used the same exterior design and interior materials in both, and this is why they look so much alike. Of course, the Bellagio is a good bit bigger. I hate I didn't get to attend any of the later meetups down there, but I was only in Biloxi one night. I also hate that Dr. Mike couldn't attend. But maybe one day both of you can return together to Biloxi. That would be great. I love the podcast. I listen to every one of them, and you two just complement each other so well. So thanks.
Good, Charles. Thank you. It was nice to see you in Biloxi. Yeah,
and you will see us both in Biloxi at some point. I guarantee that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And it was like I was saying in the last episode, right, Mike? If you were dumped in the middle of Beau Rivage, you'd think you were in Bellagio, right?
Yeah. Well, that's smart on his part. I mean, building costs, just have the same casino in just both places. You only have to come up with one set of plans. Just make the scale different in Biloxi.
Yeah, that's right. It's like if you're going to film 3 Lord of the Rings movies, you might as well do them all at once.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Save some money.
There you go. All right, let's hear from Danny.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. It is Danny from Houston. Vegas Introvert on Twitter and YouTube. I'm calling because I got such a chuckle out of your stories from New Orleans. So I live in Houston, and back in the day, it used to be really great. Southwest would offer $39 one-way flights. So, about $80 round trip to New Orleans. And it was great. On a budget, you want to go get away, you could do that. However, I learned very quickly that what we call the third gamble is Harrah's New Orleans. Because the first gamble is, are you going to live landing in New Orleans? I think 9 out of 10 flights are treacherous landing in New Orleans. I remember once flying in with my friend Rachel, and she jinxed it. Last minute, she's like, oh, this landing is actually pretty good, and we can see the ground, we can see the runway, we're about to land, and we hit this air pocket that shot us up into the air violently, and she was holding a bottle of water or something, and I just remember seeing it launched back into the back of the plane. It was death-defying. And then February of this year, I landed. We actually had really bad winds landing, and the pilot said, folks, hold on, I promise I won't crash this.
Oh, my God.
And we landed on 2 wheels, I guess, or like kind of lopsided, and I was sitting at the wing, and I could see the wing getting very close to the ground because we landed a little sideways and kind of skidded into New Orleans. So it was entertaining hearing that. I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you survived. But that's the first gamble of landing in New Orleans. The second gamble is driving the road to the casino or the central business district. Yeah, that highway is a hot mess. There are like gaps in it and holes, and it's very bumpy. And when we used to get a cab, or even when we would drive from the airport to the casino, that was also very turbulent because those roads are not in good shape. So, yeah, third gamble, Harrah's New Orleans. But I really enjoyed hearing your trip details. I really enjoy Biloxi as well. I do want to say also, the last time I stayed at Harrah's in Biloxi was 5 or 6 years ago, and I did get upgraded to a suite. I am a smoker. It was a smoking suite, but smell wasn't bad. However, we walked into the room, and it had a ceiling fan in the living room area, and from the ceiling fan light was a bra hanging from the ceiling fan light. So I think your room was par for the course. One of their signature amenities that you get little surprises. I'm glad I didn't have sticky, clear goo on my floor. That's but yeah, it was.
Oh, he got cut off there.
I don't know. Sticky stuff on the floor or a bra hanging from the ceiling fan?
It's all pages from the same book, isn't it, Dr. Mike?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, well.
I like his flight stories. Now, we live here in San Diego, which is like considered one of the most dangerous airports to land in the world.
Not because of weather, but because you're going real close to skyscrapers.
Yeah, you get to maneuver in between there's a parking structure that you fly over when you're landing. I swear to God, if you're on the top level of that parking structure, you could spit and hit a plane. It comes so close. But we've had real trouble here with fog too, remember?
Sure, yeah. Every once in a while, they can't land or they have to land from the other direction.
Yeah, I remember you and I coming back from Vegas, and it's already a scary flight landing anyway. Yep. And then we're coming in, and it was so foggy that he attempted, and he got down, and I remember turning to you and say, I don't think he's high enough. And then all of a sudden, we just did like a 90 degrees straight up. And I scared the hell out of it. That's the most I've ever been scared in a plane.
I know.
And he circled back around and we'll try this again.
I know. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to end up having to fly into LA and then bus us down. And Mike, it was Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it was Christmas Eve.
And we're not going to get home to see our families at Christmas Eve. Oh, yeah, that was bad. But he was talking about those cheap flights. We had those too, right?
Yeah.
When we were younger. Southwest, $39 runway.
Yeah, $39, $29 once. It was $29
I know. It was
once.
so good. Yeah, but those days are gone.
Yeah, now it's an hour flight from here to Vegas, and you're paying like $400.
Well, yeah, especially if it's a last minute thing. It seems like a lot of those deals have gone the way of the dinosaur.
Right.
All right, one final call. A story from Sycuan Casino, one of the local casinos
backyard.
Here. Yeah.
Hey, Mark, Dr. Mike, got a trip report for you. My buddy was playing some poker in Sycuan at a poker tournament. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go out there. I haven't been to Sycuan in a while, so I decided to go out there and check it out. First thing I did when I came in is didn't have my club card, so I decided to go to the Club Sycuan booth to go ahead and get my club card. Give her my ID and just tell her like a card reprint. She goes ahead and sets it up and says, "Oh, my computer's not working. Can you hold on for a second?" I said, "Sure, no problem." So she goes over to the corner over there, which at first I just think is another computer, like a backup computer or something. But she's over there for about 2 minutes. Then she comes back. She's like, "Oh, if you want to just have a seat or go, it'll just be a couple more minutes." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll just go to the restroom real quick and I'll come back." So I go over to the restroom and I come back and I'm just talking to her and we're just making small chit chat. Then I turn around and I see one security officer hanging out by the club booth. And I see 2, and then I see 3. And then all of a sudden they want to have a conversation with me. I was like, okay.
What did you do in the
apparently
bathroom?
I was being trespassed for some reason that they wouldn't tell me at the moment. I was a lifetime ban and I was never allowed back into the casino. So I said, well, I haven't been to the casino since 2019. And they called upstairs and they said it was for lewd behavior 4 days ago. So I think it's a case of mistaken identity or something, but they said because it's a lifetime ban, it's non-appealable. So I was just wondering if you guys have any ideas on what I can do. I'm not really worried if I never go back to Sycuan again, but I would like to clear my name because it's totally something that I didn't do. I'm assuming they have some sort of tape of the person who they actually trespassed or did whatever to, and I have no problem trying to show my license. I even told the security guard, I said, well, if I was being trespassed, the last thing I would do is go to the club booth to get a card reprint. So there you go. There's my trip report. It was all 20 minutes. So love the show. Talk to you guys later. Thanks.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, Eric, I don't know that you have any course of action other than to get a hold of somebody at Sycuan who will listen to you.
Yeah. Now, what I'm trying to figure out is if it is mistaken identity.
Yeah. If it is, you think he's lying?
I mean, if that's most likely.
Right, sure.
I'm not saying he's lying. I'm saying, in a case of mistaken identity, how do they identify him? Was it by his driver's license? Or
who knows?
Or was it by his club card number that maybe perhaps somebody entered wrong when they kicked the other guy out?
Yeah, right.
They just got one number off and his card came up with his name on it instead of the real guy.
Sure. I mean, we don't know all the details, but that could have been the case, right? The guy who was guilty of lewd behavior somehow had Eric's card or a copy of it or something.
Or had his own card, but it was like 1 or 2 numbers off.
Right, they entered
somebody
it wrong.
entered it wrong,
sure,
right?
Yeah,
And
right.
so then all of a sudden, he's in the computer as the bad guy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think I would call and talk to somebody, maybe head of security or something, say, look, I mean, I wasn't even there. How can that be me?
But obviously you can't go in and talk to somebody because you're banned.
You're banned.
But you just have to get on the phone. And again, luckily Eric said it's not that important that he go back to Sycuan. But sure, if
you go to Hamul,
you don't want your good name smeared through
for lewd behavior too.
Right, especially
it'd be one thing if it was like, he cheated somehow on a card.
Well, I don't know. That's pretty bad too.
Yeah, I know. But lewd behavior is a rough
one, right?
Yeah, it's not bad behavior.
Yeah, they didn't say he was drunk or got too loud.
Lewd behavior.
Lewd, so who knows what that
I didn't know that when I said what happened to the bathroom. I hadn't heard this call. So.
Yeah. So that's our only advice. Get on the phone, see if you can talk to somebody who's willing to listen and reasonable.
Yeah, that's very strange, though.
Yeah.
They've got to have it on camera.
Well, even if they do, it doesn't mean that somebody's going to take the time to look. Right? Some people just
how long do they keep that?
Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? They don't keep it forever. So anyway, good luck, Eric. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some recurring donations. Nathan, Brian Dancer, that I got to meet finally down in Biloxi, Brian and Sarah, Josh, and David from Lovelock Electric. Thank you very much. We also got a donation from Travis. Karma for an upcoming trip to Biloxi, May 5th through the 8th. Staying at Harrah's. Wondering what restaurants you recommend while I'm there. Keep up the great show, Dr. Mark and Dr. Mike. Unfortunately, I didn't eat at any restaurants. We just ate at like sports bars and, I ate at a burger place. And That's one thing about us, Dr. Mike.
We're not
people ask us for a restaurant, and all we can say is, well, we ate at McDonald's a few times.
Hey, McDonald's was good.
But literally, I really didn't eat at any special places down in Biloxi, so unfortunately, I can't give you any real recommendations. But of course, if you like seafood, head on down there, and there are all sorts of great places that you can get it there. So
so you're going to be there May 8th, and May 9th is Tony Gwynn's birthday.
Okay.
So maybe on the 8th, he puts $5 on number 19 on the roulette table.
Oh, which was Tony Gwynn's number?
Tony Gwynn's number,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Just a little helpful hint
All
from
right.
me.
Hopeful hint from Dr. Mike.
Put your money on 19.
Yep. And if I have some kind of legalese where I can say we're not responsible for any losses incurred.
No, it's just it's just a hint. You can't get in trouble.
Oh, it's just a hint.
Yeah, you can't get in trouble for that.
That's
Mark.
right. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listing showing all the gambling related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks at youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings and our list of gambling related movies at youcanbetonthat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonthat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonthat and on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonthat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review of the show. We love getting your feedback. Dr. Mike.
Well, Mark, baseball season is here.
Yes, it is.
And we're enjoying that.
Yep.
Even though the Padres are off to a
It's shaky. Yeah, they're doing okay. There's some really good appearances, and then others not so much.
Good. But we're enjoying it. We're glad baseball season's here. And then, of course, for us sports fans, hockey playoffs are coming up.
Yep.
Basketball playoffs are here.
They're already in. Yep.
Yeah, it's an exciting time in the sports world, and summer's coming, so there'll be big crowds at all the casinos.
Yep.
Especially out at Harris Rincon, they have that pool that seems
that attracts a lot.
My gosh,
a lot of the young people.
A lot of the young people. A lot of young people walking around in swimsuits.
There you go.
So for us old people, that's nice.
That's nice. No comment.
Anyway, so I guess that's what's going on with us, right? I mean, I don't know what else to say.
No, nothing else. No trips really in the future,
No.
although I'm really tempted to go play at the World Series of Poker, one of those smaller events you and I were talking about. I know.
You should go.
I'm thinking about it, but don't hold your breath on that. We'll see.
No, you should go. You're good at money management, and you might make it.
I don't have a lot of tournament experience, but it is Omaha 8, which is a game I love. So
you like that game, and you're good at it.
All right.
You should try it. It'd be a fun thing to say. And it's probably not a long tournament.
No, it's just 3 days.
Yeah.
And it's over a weekend. That's another, real good draw.
For you, because of work.
Yeah, all right.
So, all right. I'm going to push for that.
All right, you push for that.
I'm going to get you there, Mark.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Good night.
El Cajon? That's the anus of San Diego.